Hello, everybody. I'm Amy Rutledge.
Hello, everybody. I'm Felicia Lawrence, and John Hanson already giving us the shoulder action. John and Amy.
You know it's Thursday when I'm giving you a lot of shoulders. That's how I feel today. Got a lot to cover today. And guys, this is kind of a cool story. Osco of Jewel Osco fame announcing that they're going to have an at-home saliva test at the ready at some locations. It's not so simple. You have to fill out a questionnaire beforehand on their website. They let you know when it's there. They don't want you going into the Jewel Oscos if you're feeling sick. And you still have to send the results to a lab, and it takes 72 hours, and it costs $140. But the fact that these are starting to get in the mainstream of testing is certainly good news, I think.
Well, and I mean, if you think maybe you do have it, and this is an avenue where you could call the pharmacy and say, I need this, and not have to go anywhere and possibly infect other people at all, yay.
Yeah, this is a great sign that it's just getting more mainstream, like you said. I'm thinking of, because I did research for travel in the Caribbean, and you need a test for a lot of those countries within 7 days that's valid. So this is another option, than going to your doctor. The test has to be taken within those 7 days, those 7 days prior to traveling to that country. So any way you can make it more accessible, although that $140 price tag, that's a little steep.
But you could submit that to your insurance later.
No. Well, can you? But Osco isn't going to do it for you.
They won't
so you
submit it, but you could submit it and hope that they cover it. So
You know how those insurance companies are.
I wouldn't trust our insurance.
Yeah, they're gonna have your $140 out there, floating out there for months, and you'll never see it. Okay, guys. Well, most of Illinois is actually in phase 4 of our COVID reopening plan. However, Chicago is bracing for otherwise. They're bracing for a second surge in COVID cases, specifically around the holidays. Health officials are preparing by making sure that long-term health facilities are good and equipped, making sure that PPE is properly distributed, and increasing testing, also increasing rapid testing, which we need way more of that. This week, we've actually had a drop in cases. You should note the positivity rate is still going down. However, health officials still concerned about these winter months coming up.
Well, and you can get masks on every corner store now. I mean, they're practically everywhere. Everyone from Hanes to Louis Vuitton makes them from $2 to $1,000. And actually, a lot of companies like Gap, Anthropologie, Adidas, Under Armour, they all had to pivot, and they started making these masks in order to keep their business alive. As a matter of fact, experts are saying the U.S. market for face masks could amount to about $6 billion by 2021. The bad thing is everyone's buying them up, and then you have them, and they're cloth, and you can wash them. So they're thinking that bubble could burst. And we've seen a lot of retail stores that filed for bankruptcy, a couple months ago. Could it be many more going into the future as the need to buy new masks goes down? Who knows?
That's a good question. I didn't think about that point. If the need is going down, then how will companies make a profit?
Right. I mean,
although
15 in my
theory,
house.
In theory, if the need is going down, then hopefully everything is reopening back up and they can pivot back to normal procedures. I still am, I don't say I'm low on masks, but I've got like 4 that we use. We wash them regularly. So, and honestly, the way this is going with vaccines looking, like hopefully soon, but it could be months and months before we're all able to get them. We're still in the early part of mask season is all I'm saying.
But the point is like my kids each have 5 masks so I can wash them every day. You get to a point where you have enough for everybody. You don't need to buy new ones because you're washing them every day. So we still may be using them as much, but maybe not have to buy them as often as we have since the early days.
That's impressive. You have like a whole wash schedule and everything.
Well, the little guys are in daycare. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
You're such a good mom, Amy. I don't know if people tell you that enough. Okay, guys, quite a scene outside the Supreme Court today. Well, first came those boos, then came chants of vote him out, referring, of course, to President Trump as he and First Lady Melania paid their respects to the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, gatherers may have been reacting to the president's comments yesterday where he refused to promise to leave office if Joe Biden is elected. Today, the White House kind of walked that back a little bit, saying the president would leave office after a free and fair election. But look, after the president's comments and new reports on possible changes to election procedures, We wanted to get someone way smarter than the three of us to break it down, so we're getting help from the U of I law dean, Vic. We're going right to the dean. Vic Amar is joining us here. Dean, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Nice to be with you.
So I wanted to specifically ask about some new reports that the president and his team could be working with state officials to potentially work on an electoral college switcheroo. Is there any merit to this in our Constitution and rulings that have come out in years past?
Well, I just saw the news accounts recently myself, and the idea is that the Constitution of the United States gives the power to the legislature of each state to figure out how to select the electors from that state who are part of the so-called electoral college. Now, every state's legislature has essentially farmed that job out to us voters, and we vote on election day, and the electors that are most popular, the candidate that is most popular to us, wins the electors from the state. But what the news account suggests is if there is a contest after November 3rd, then maybe some state legislatures who claim that the election results that have been certified by the Secretary of State of that state may dispute the validity of that outcome and try to appoint a slate of electors themselves. And then things could get very messy. This was something that people talked about in Florida in 2000. It never came to that. Congress is ultimately the one that will figure out which electors from each state to credit and count. And Congress has a law that was passed over 100 years ago that lays out a procedure. And at the end of the day, under that procedure, it turns out it's the governor of each state, maybe more than the legislature of each state, who's going to be an important player. But I worry that a lot of this will get dumped in the U.S. Supreme Court, and it'll have to sort it out. So there's definitely cause for anxiety, but I don't think yet cause for panic.
That anxiety is what's scary already. Is there anything that you think officials can do right now to put more trust into the validity of the election results?
Well, I do. I think one thing that officials can do is they can remind all of us that because of the heavy volume of mail-in voting in all states, that they shouldn't really think about an election night so much as an election week. So on the face of it, if the results come in on Tuesday and they lean one direction, and then by Friday or Saturday they lean in the other direction, a lot of people say, well, that's bogus, there's got to be shenanigans. No, there doesn't have to be shenanigans. It just takes a while to count the votes. And I think journalists and election officials need to really remind everybody that we can't put any stock in what we see as tentative results until all the votes are counted. I think also, we're going to have to ultimately perhaps trust some courts who may get involved in some of this. I actually think that's not a great thing, but as between courts on the one hand and Congress and the president on the other hand, of the three branches, the courts are the ones that are the least messed up these days. So if it ends up in the Supreme Court, it's not my first choice, but things could be worse than them figuring things out.
The president walked his language back a little bit about the transition of power if he does lose this election or what could possibly happen. I mean, I'm kind of joking, but there's no squatters' rights on the White House, is there? I mean, what would have to happen to actually get him out if they lose the election?
Well, I think the real key players would be the Republican Party and the U.S. Supreme Court. If basically all the states are reporting results that suggest that Joe Biden won, and the members of the Senate, and to their credit, most Republican senators that commented on this said, this is just presidential stupidity or craziness. I think one of them, Ben Sass of Nebraska, said the president says crazy things all the time. But if the president doesn't have the support of either the military or the Senate or the Supreme Court, then this probably is just hyperbole on his point. The president has said a lot of things over the last 4 years that he hasn't followed through on in all directions. So it was an irresponsible thing to say, if you ask me. In next week's debate, I hope that Chris Wallace asks some pointed questions to the president about what he meant by that, and would he commit in front of the voters of the country to respect the results of the election as certified by the relevant authorities. But that's not one of my bigger worries right now. That the election will clearly go for Biden, and he'll just ignore it. I think there are a lot more other challenging scenarios to deal with, including the possibility that the election is too close to call and we don't really know for some period of time.
All right, Dina Mar, thank you so much for joining us. And ILL.
ILL.
Take care.
There we go. Well, that's the thing we do, Amy and Felicia.
I know. My whole
What if he had
house.
left you hanging? What if he
I
left you
would have been
hanging?
in trouble. Thanks so much, Jim. We appreciate it.
My whole house is filled with you buyers. I get it. We do it all the time. All right. Hey, guys. The Cape Crusader is coming back to Chicago. Yes. Exterior scenes for the Batman movie, the newest one starring Robert Pattinson, will be shot here in the city, largely in the Loop, next month. The movie's not due out until October 1st. It was actually pushed back because you may remember Robert Pattinson himself actually had COVID, so it shut down production for some time. So, I think this is the fourth one where a large portion of those exterior scenes are shot here in the city. Pretty awesome. No word yet if Mr. Pattinson himself or the cast and crew will be coming to the city to shoot as well.
I just cannot wait to see the final product. Chicago people love seeing their city in movies. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then Robert Pattinson, I'm not sure about him being the Batman, but he has this whole mysterious thing that going on with him and in his eyes. It might work. I'm curious.
I love that Chicago is always Gotham City, but can't we get some other ones on in here? I know we've had other movies in here. 35th anniversary of Ferris Bueller's Day Off released as well. But are we just sick of Batman? Well, how many Batman movies do we need?
No, they've done Transformers here. What else?
No, I know, but this is like the 90th Batman.
But you ever looked at comic books? There's hundreds of them. There's hundreds of stories. There's so many different stories they can tell with Batman, right?
I mean, clearly people enjoy it, so I should just shut up.
Nearly.
Yeah,
yes, you should.
You sound a little anti-American right now, and I don't like it.
Well, don't come for my America card, Felicia. I love Batman. I've just seen it done, okay? Wow, taking my America card. Boom.
Don't you make fun of superheroes. You're in trouble, mister.
All right, I'll stop.
All right. Deanna, over to you.
All right, guys, I got to tell you this. Coming up, early voting kicked off in the suburbs today. I'll tell you when you can start voting here in the city. Plus, Krista, I got to tell you this. There's an airline that's now offering its passengers coronavirus tests before they fly out. So we definitely have to talk about that.
Okay, that just might get me on board with flying. Did you see what I just did there? On board with the plane. Didn't even realize that was coming out of my mouth. Amazing. Also, you guys, we're going to learn the story of a woman who became a Latina at the age of 38. All that coming up after the break. And if you aren't already following us on social media, why not do it in this break right now? Just hit us up at the Jam TV show. Hit the follow, hit the like, comment. You can comment along with the show. I'll be looking. More of the Jam right after this.
Hey everyone, I'm Diana Gutierrez with the news you need to know this evening. United Airlines is the first airlines here in the United States to start a COVID-19 testing program. And this is how it's going to work out. On October 15th, anyone flying from San Francisco to Hawaii will be able to have two options, either an at-home test or they get to reserve a time to get tested, rapidly tested at the airport. Now, Hawaii was up and down with their COVID-19 cases, but now they're going to waive their 2-week quarantine. They're going to be the ones to verify those COVID-19 results. But get this, the cost for the airport test is $250. For at home, it's $80 plus shipping. Still pretty pricey, but convenient. I know, Felicia, you were mentioning this is something that you were thinking about because everyone wants to get out.
I am thinking about it, but I'm not thinking about the $250 price tag that goes along with these tests. That took me out right there. And then I'm also immediately thinking about lines. You already have me waiting in a line for ticketing. You already have me in a line for security. But I still have to wait. And then it said 20 minutes to wait for the test. I'm one of those people that likes to show up right at time and keep it going.
Hey, if United is charging $250, wait till Spirit starts doing this.
Oh my goodness.
Then you have to bring your own cotton swab.
That's the punchline I was looking for, Amy, and I didn't find it. Nice job.
Yes. Felicia might be on a Greyhound, okay?
You guys think about it this way. If you're taking a trip and you're going to a place that requires you to quarantine for 7 days, as soon as you arrive, that would suck. You can't do anything on your vacation. But if you can take a test right before you get on the plane, then they're like, welcome to our city, and you get to go do your stuff. Isn't it totally worth it?
You got a future as a United spokesperson selling these tests, Amy.
No, I mean, seriously, how many people can take like 4 weeks off? You know what I'm saying? Not us, for sure. But right, still kind of crazy. All right, guys, another story here making headlines. Early voting has started in some Illinois counties, and let me tell you, it was packed. So, for example, DuPage County opened up its voting polls. They got actually long lines, even though they had super early arrivals. Kane, Will, McHenry, Lake counties also opened up. And today was the day that the mail-in ballots were set to be mailed out. Now, for those who live in Chicago, early voting starts October 1st in the Loop, October 14th for other wards as well.
Well, I'm waiting for my ballot to arrive. They got mailed out in my area, I think 2 days ago. I'm getting it in as soon as possible to make sure everybody gets counted. It's really important.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing the long lines. You do have a long time to vote. You got a couple weeks, but hey, people on day one, we saw the same thing in Virginia and Minnesota. Glad Illinoisans are stepping up, and Chicago on October 1st, early voting.
Yeah, I'm shocked that the lines were so long on the first day. I think usually people kind of ease into the whole early voting thing. I'm going to go to the polls. I'm not going to do the mail-in thing.
Isn't there something to be said, though, for like voting and just being done with it? I think a lot of people then get to turn their brain off to that at that point.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, thanks, Deanna. Hey guys, surprising many of its very loyal fans, the Old Town Tap House quietly reopened last night on the city's north side, thanks to, get this, frozen pizza. Yeah, like a loophole in the laws here, because it was just a bar, and so they sold snacks, packaged snacks, but that doesn't count as food. So they were not allowed to do the outdoor seating or have the patrons as many as they'd like to have them in. So they petitioned for a food license from the city, got it. And now that they're serving frozen pizza, they can be at least partially open to clients and serve alcohol till 11 o'clock at night.
I absolutely love loopholes in the law. Anything that gets me closer to my cocktail, I'm okay with.
I have spent many a late evening at Old Town Ale House. Let me tell you, anything that gets them back open safely is smart. Old Town Ale House is a place you would never find Krista Green, by the way. That is not a place. No, or you, Amy. In fact, just degenerates like me go to Old Town Ale House.
No,
okay. Yeah, all right. Degenerates like us, Krista.
You won't find me there. It's just you alone, John. Sorry about it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Coming up, there's a comedian who turned a pretty bad day into a romantic comedy show based on a romantic comedy. I know. We'll talk to Nicole Burke after the break and figure it all out. And here's a look at your Friday forecast. The Jam will be back in 90.
Live look at Navy Pier. Nice night across Chicagoland. Never Been Kissed will forever be a 90s rom-com staple, but comedian Nicole Birch's new special is putting a new twist on that title.
She finds his phone, takes his thumb to unlock his phone, then logs into his Facebook account, then does a live stream where she outs him, divulges all their sexual proclivities, and then refers to me as a low-rent Jenny McCarthy.
Nicole is here with us now to talk about her comedy special, Never Been Kissed. Thanks for joining us, and I love that we get to laugh at your unfortunate romantic escapades. Good thing you can laugh about it, right?
Yeah, it was so bad, guys. It was so bad. It was so bad. Yeah, I think if you guys are familiar with the movie, it's something that I was obsessed with for years, and then I actually meet the lead actor in it, and that is the date that I went on, and everything that could go wrong went wrong, and that's what the special's about.
Okay, so I'm thinking about just all the uncomfortable moments that you've shared in your comedy. Have you ever felt like, oh, this is too much? Have you ever regretted what you've shared?
Oh, no. See, for some reason, I have this, I don't know if it's in my DNA or what it is, but I feel the need to overshare. I don't want anybody to have any preconceived notions about me and be wrong. So I'm like, no, I'll tell you, my life's a mess, but I'm going to be very specific in what kind of mess it is. And I have no problem telling the world what it is like. That's fine.
A lot of comedians feel like it's kind of like therapeutic to air that stuff out. So during all of this, I'm sure you haven't been able to get on stage as much. What have you been doing to try and, make sure that you're still able to share as much as you can with your fans?
Oh, that's easy. I get to do these lovely interviews, and then sometimes I'll be able to vent some stuff out that, about different ex-boyfriends, and it's all very cathartic for me, and it's on national news, and so it's great.
It's wonderful. Okay, I got to ask, and do not take this the wrong way because you are a gorgeous girl, but how did you get a date with Michael Vartan? How did that work?
Oh no, like, trust me, I was very surprised when he even asked me on a date. So I had been going through this terrible breakup, and I talk about it a little bit in the special, and I had taken myself off the market for 2 years. I was so broken. It was such a public, humiliating breakup. And then my girlfriend was like, no, you're going with me to this birthday party. And it ended up being a Hollywood party. And in the kitchen, and this is a friend of mine who works a ton, and I've always looked up to her. And so we go to this party, and he's in the kitchen, and I'm like, now keep in mind, I haven't really seen him since Never Been Kissed. So it's been 20. And my friend Kristen goes, oh, that's Michael Vartan. We did a project together. And I go, say what? And so she goes, oh, I'll introduce you. Now, keep in mind, at this point, I'm just stuck at the food table, shoving my face, crying, like I don't want to be there. I look like an angry wet cat, like I'm freaking out. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. I'm like the wallflower that nobody wants to hang out with. And I crack a joke that's pretty loud and obnoxious because I'm nervous, and so I've been drinking. And he thinks it's funny and comes over and starts a conversation with me. And at this point, I'm sweating. I am sweating. I have no blood flowing to my brain. I'm shaking. At one point, we start talking about our dogs, which kind of calms me down. And then he's like, you know what? He's like, do you want to go grab dinner? Because he thought for some reason, and this is hilarious, he thought that I was like this really chill, relatable girl. But what it really was is I was so nervous, I couldn't form a sentence. So he just thought I was like,
well, that's how all this started.
Girl.
I can't wait to see how the actual special goes. Nicole, I'm sorry, so we're out of time, but thank you so much for joining us. And you can follow her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at NicoleBirch.com, and check out the special Never Been Kissed, available now for streaming on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. We'll be back.
Are we going straight to break?
What are we doing?
She was so funny.
So funny. We got lots more coming up. More laughs. Stick around. The music is back, and so are we. Good evening, everybody. I'm Amy Rutledge, and you are watching The Jam.
Yes, you are, and yes, it is. I'm Felicia Lawrence.
And I'm John Hanson.
Yeah, guys, so let me tell you about Blacktober, okay? It is coming up, well, in October. And it is basically a food festival for Black restaurants. So they're trying to gather, just like they did for Juneteenth, and this is being thrown by Black People Eats. If you're not following Black People Eats, I don't know what you're doing. It's an Instagram account that highlights a bunch of Black restaurants and stuff. So you should be following them. But they are basically trying to do like what they did for Juneteenth. It garnered a lot of publicity and a lot of patronage, people patronizing these businesses, these Black businesses during a pandemic. So they're doing this for the month of October. They're hoping to get 30 to 40 different restaurants involved, something to check out around the city.
And a lot of those restaurants we've featured on Chicago Food to Go and will continue to do so.
That's awesome. Well, we're also celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month this month here on The Jam. Today, the story of one Chicagoan who didn't know her real heritage until a simple test opened another chapter in her life.
I always felt like there was something missing in my life, and then, I was always in love with everything that was the Latino culture, and I gravitated towards those neighborhoods and the food. And then I did a DNA test, and I found out there was a whole reason behind that. At 38, I found out I'm Latina. I did the DNA test to check for illnesses. I opened it at work. It was like, your results are in. And I was like, oh, okay, like it doesn't say anything scary genetically. This is cool. And then I was like, oh, let me toggle over to the ancestry, see what's going on, right? And it's like, hey, this half is Irish and British. And I was like, all right. And then it's like, and this half is from Puerto Rico, Mexico. And I was like, wait, what? I sent my mom a text like, still cracking jokes. Like, so who's my real daddy? And I was like, look, I'm not judging you. Like, that's not what this is about. But this is about my heritage, and I have a right to know, And she was like, oh, well, I did date this one guy, but all she knew was his first name. And I took that and, all my best friend Facebook super stalking paid off. I found him in like, I don't know, half a day. I found his phone number. I was like, I'm gonna call him. I was like, nope, I'm gonna send him a text. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to the grocery store, take my mind off of things. And I like pulled into Aldi and my phone rang and it was his number. And then so we, I said, so I think you dated my mom. It would have been around April 1980. And he was like, I mean, that sounds about right. And we cracked a couple jokes. I knew immediately, like it was crazy. I literally got the phone and cried because I was just like we cracked the same jokes, this is weird. So he agreed to do the DNA test. The minute we got the results, it was like, okay, so let's go have dinner. I want you to meet the family. He was very supportive, and it was like, he was just like, wow, I feel like I missed a whole lifetime with you. I didn't realize how much of my life it affected, so it's just everything has changed, how I view life, how I treat life, my career choices, everything it's just weird. Everything feels complete.
Growing
I love
up,
that.
I do too, and not having a clue that's such a large chunk of who you are too. I think I took a DNA test years ago and found out I was 3% Asian, and I was surprised by that. I mean, that doesn't have an effect on my life profoundly like this does on hers. I mean, it's life-changing.
And then to meet a family and to be welcomed in by that family, that takes it to a whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine that you feel so many different things that she's talked about. Also, what a call she had to make to mom, but I appreciate there's those lines of communications open to learn just a little bit more about who you are. And I love how she said, look, no judgment. I just need to find out my heritage. Good for her. That's great. Hey, doggies. We love talking about dogs on this show. Well, guess what? They're more than man's best friend. They may be able to sniff out the coronavirus. They're working on this at the Helsinki airport, trying to identify potential carriers of the virus. So I guess if you're walking to the airport, you don't want the dog to come up and start sniffing you. That's no good. The director of the Helsinki airport says it was one of the first airports to pilot the project, and dogs can do everything. They sniff out, obviously, bombs and other things, but that's so cool.
Well, you think about the service dogs that are there to help people who have epilepsy because they can sense seizures coming on. So this does not surprise me.
That's a good point. I was just thinking of sometimes the mistakes that these dogs make, and if that's going to keep me from getting on a plane or to keep me in quarantine or something like that, that could be tragic.
I love how you're just judging the dogs immediately, Felicia. You took away my
I'm
American
saying-
cargo in the show. Now you're taking their dog sniffing abilities away. Trust the dogs.
It's not 100% foolproof, and it's new. I guess I feel like it's new.
Felicia's going to have dog biscuits now and just toss them away so the dog goes in another direction when they come towards her. All right, let's get to Deanna and news.
Yeah, guys, let's talk about the news you need to know this evening. 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, his defense put out a statement today saying and actually defending him and saying that he acted as an American patriot during the Kenosha unrest. Now, they claim that Rittenhouse is being sacrificed by politicians. Just a quick side note and a quick reminder, he's actually being charged with the death of 2 protesters along with other charges. Now, on social media and all over on many platforms, $2 million have been raised in his defense. And the University of Illinois hospital nurses, their week-long strike is over because they reached a tentative agreement on a 4-year contract. Now, the promises of that contract are to hire 160 more nurses, more PPE, which is super important. They want hazard pay because they are still working under coronavirus conditions. Although this still has to be voted on by the entire union of nurses, which is about 1,400 nurses, by Monday. And I know you guys were waiting for this story. Saturday Night Live is coming back next weekend for the 46th season of the show. They're going to bring back and have the host as Chris Rock. This will be Rock's 3rd appearance. He's obviously been a previous cast member on the show too. And a quick side note, Megan Thee Stallion will be the musical guest. I mean, how can you not get excited? It's the first time the show is going to be back since March. I mean, March feels like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Hey, well, the pumpkin spice story sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, this
Okay,
is
well,
my
hey.
story. Why didn't you guys tell me? Here we go. This is
Well,
my
I
story.
did.
Okay,
I
that was my
did,
bad.
Deanna, you got
Guys,
one
we have
more.
to. No, it's a story that I really dislike. John, you probably like this one. Okay, pumpkin spice latte. As if 2020 couldn't get any worse. Okay,
Right.
Pumpkin spice latte. Now people want pumpkin spice macaroni. Okay, so Kraft Heinz announced that their pumpkin spice mac and cheese will be topped with cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger. And a quick disclaimer, only 1,000 people will be able to try it, and in Canada. So good luck, John.
Gross.
Ugh.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
No,
No.
guys. Mac and cheese is like that loyal friend you've had. It's done a lot of carrying of my emotional weight over the years. This is like one of those times. It's like a friend that tries something new. You know it's gonna fail. It's gross, but let mac and cheese spread its wings and try something, and then it'll come back
Goodness.
home and
Don't
get
we
rid
have
of
a
that
commercial
pumpkin.
break coming up we could take?
All right, fine. We'll be back.
Yeah. Now. September is National Self-Care Awareness Month, and I caught up with National Travel and Lifestyle reporter Davy Sutton to hear how she's staying stress-free. Take a look.
I actually took a temporary pandemic move to the Outer Banks, remote, far beach. Knowing when to take a break is the first tip that I have for you. I think this is the trend that we're going to see now. I got myself a place from Verbo. They have a huge inventory of private homes along with beaches and mountain retreats.
You're also encouraging people to keep self-care routines.
For me, I've been really enjoying having a beauty routine, and not to sound vain or selfish, but I take a little time in the morning, look in the mirror, slow it down, say some affirmations, and it doesn't have to be really expensive to have some good quality skincare products. For example, the Olay Regenerist Micro Sculpting Cream. This has been my go-to for years, and it's really kind of one of those like zinger ones because you can get it from Walmart for under 30 bucks, and I think it kind of gets overlooked because it's so affordable, but it has those key ingredients like hyaluronic acid. The bottom line for this part of the tip is making sure that you build out that routine and invest in yourself a bit.
Included in that me time is a hobby. I say this all the time. I feel like I need a hobby because I have rest, I have relaxation, but I need that other activity that just lights my fire. I don't think I found it yet.
one of the trends that we've been seeing is adult coloring. So that's a little whimsical, but it also has proven health benefits like mental, it helps you de-stress. And really fun is during the pandemic, I came up with a series of coloring books based on our favorite, Felicia, travel. All of these coloring books are based on travel. This is Wonders of the World. This is Maps of the World. But I came up with these because I started coloring and it just really helps you just take the stress away.
There you go. Support this Black-owned business. And then also follow Davy Sutton and her adventures at Davy Sutton on all social media platforms. Thank you, Davy.
Thanks, Felicia.
All right, guys, trending, and here is what's breaking this evening. Demi Lovato and fiance Max Eric are no more. They called off the engagement, so quick timeline. They started dating, went straight into quarantine, dated for 6 months, and now, kapoots, it's over. Sorry, Demi. I really was rooting for this one, but so long. Okay, moving on. Obviously, a lot has changed in the pandemic, especially the way that TV shows and movies are being filmed. But have you thought about how they're keeping those intimate scenes safe? Well, according to this Instagram post from Hubba Hubba Hunk KJ Appa on the CW Riverdale, he posted that this is their new normal. They are mouthwashing. They're doing a quick swig, swoosh, and a spit before every single kissing scene. And I mean, like a lot of people in the comments, fans are wondering, they weren't using mouthwash before? I mean, this sounds like it should be a standard for me. So, of course, you can catch Riverdale on CW6 once this new season hits our screens. But guys, do you believe that they were actually just kissing without doing this? I mean, this should not be the new normal. This should be a standard normal.
I would have thought that that would have been a part of common practice already. However, I can understand just working so closely with your coworkers, not this group, but working so closely with your coworkers, you just kind of get used to it. You become close like a family. I could see how that could happen.
Yeah, I'm sure they were brushing their teeth before, but not necessarily in between every single scene where they do another swig of mouthwash. I was at the dentist a couple weeks ago, and they made me swish with hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's what they do nowadays. I was going to say, is this mouthwash actually going to stop anything? Is this supported by doctors? Or maybe just someone complained on the set about bad breath and then this was their workaround. Or they're like, oh yeah, COVID. Here, we all have to do this, especially you. Please do it now.
I'm just happy they're doing it. They spit into bags after too, and people were saying that those are going to be just hot on eBay after. So you can catch me on eBay after.
Ew.
No, God.
I wouldn't want Beyonce's bag.
You wouldn't?
You would,
No.
Beef. You would.
You would pour that in your mouth and swish along right
Oh
after.
my God, I didn't say that. You're making me creeped out. All right.
Alicia,
Okay,
take
I
a little
would take
bit.
it. I would take it, but I wouldn't do anything with it.
Oh man, Beef. All right, guys.
Okay,
Well,
keep going. Let's go. Yeah.
Coming up this weekend, it's giving me something to look forward to. The iHeartRadio Music Festival is kicking off. It's Sunday and Monday night, and you can see performances from some of our favorite artists. Oh, Miley Cyrus, I love her. Keith Urban, Usher Baby, and a lot more that we all love. So we'll be back in 90 seconds. Did I do that okay? Usher Baby? No? Never again?
All right. This is a part of the show. We go deep on a topic. We dish about ourselves. We call it Deep Dish.
Yes, I'm ready to go in on this one because I love a good rant.
Me too.
So we got to bring awareness to something that should probably be a no-brainer in 2020, but hey, it's a heck of a year. So let's recap. Stop commenting on people's weight. Please stop, whether they are a little thick or a little skinny. Just don't comment on it at all. So the whole idea you're saying you're so skinny, that's not a real compliment.
It drives me crazy because if you are skinny, it makes you think like, oh, am I too skinny? If you're not skinny or you don't feel like you look as good as you want to look, then you're like, well, I usually look better. And then you feel like you have to cover it up. I mean, I guess it's nice. It just depends on your mindset and you never know what someone else is thinking. So it's just like, it's probably safer.
I try and dig deep to find sympathy and empathy in every single situation, but I can find absolutely none for people that are skinny and are told they're skinny. Look, in this culture, and it's changing, thankfully, and Felicia, you're right, in general, just don't make a comment. But I think when people say you're skinny and they're coming from that point of view, they're coming from the view that we have here in this country, unfortunately, that skinny equals beauty. And as someone who has struggled mightily with weight, back and forth, yo-yoing, started, maybe it's because I've never gotten this compliment. Maybe I'll feel different one day, hopefully, if I ever were to get it. But I just don't have I don't feel bad.
But see,
I don't know.
You said the viewpoint of this country, and for African Americans, not for all, but in African American culture, being curvaceous is what is prized and idolized. So for someone who was always on the thinner side, I always wanted to be, have that curvaceous figure that all the boys wanted. Yes. Now that I do have that, though, I'm like, okay, now slow down now. Bring the skinny on back. But ultimately, I mean, you never know where someone's viewpoint is coming from and how they're viewing the world and how they're viewing themselves.
And I mean, it's also makes perspective. I mean, this could be a triggering statement for somebody, who has struggled with the other side of it, who's always been thinner and wanted to be thinner. And that was like, oh my God, I maybe I'm starting to get thin again. I got to get thinner, even thinner. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it can kind of go either way if you're thick or thin. Just leave everybody alone.
I immediately thought of Juliana Rancic. Remember, she was in the press a few years ago, it was a handful of years, for being too thin. And she was on steroidal medication, steroids that was making her thin. You know, she's had that battle with breast cancer and everything. And so for someone whose my hormones have affected my weight. So you commenting on it, and it's a medical condition, that doesn't help at all. And I recently thought about this with my girlfriend who is about 38 weeks pregnant. And I wanted to tell her, girl, you didn't get that big at all. And I stopped myself because I was like, what if her baby has a low birth rate, birth weight or something like that?
Yeah.
I have no idea what she's going through. So I should just keep my mouth shut, which is a good rule in general when you're dealing with pregnant women, and any person.
Yeah, it's
anybody
a good rule
else's.
in general.
Yes, I was gonna say anybody else's life, unless it's a close friend, keep your trap shut. You don't know what other people are going through, right?
I guess that's what I was thinking of. Like, it's a close friend. Yes, of course, it depends on the delivery mechanism in which you're giving the line and how much you actually know about the person. I wouldn't like walk down the street and be like, "Hey, skinny!" Like, yeah, no, of course not. But I do appreciate that look behind the glass there, Felicia, with Black culture. I hadn't really thought about that, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Black culture.
Hey, I've been trying to get in for a long time.
Felicia, I have worked on trying to get a booty for so long, and I cannot get a booty.
Yes. Keep praying to the gods. You and me both, girlfriend.
You can have some of mine. Okay. We may not know what tomorrow brings in 2020. We're just hoping to get to 2021. Imagine 2025 far off in the distance. I hope the apocalypse hasn't arrived. Anyways, there's an interesting Reddit thread, which is where I always go for my deep dish topics, about if you could Google a question about 5 years in the future and get an answer, what would you want to know, Amy Rutledge?
I mean, this is probably pretty self-explanatory because you guys know me already. Am I healthy? Have I done a good job taking care of myself, that I've kept my health intact, staved off illnesses, and can continue surviving to take care of my kids? Boring, but it's true.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that's on your brain. I'm gonna reveal what's on my brain. You guys know, I want to know how many kids am I gonna have in 5 years?
That's a good one. So you guys are going with personal questions.
Yeah.
What kind of questions do you have?
Well, I want to know who the president is. Like, I don't, like, personally, and I know you guys are confident in your personal lives and all, that's not what I'm trying to say. I don't really want to know anything about that. Like, I don't want to know how many kids. I don't want to, like, have a fact and then, like, get the butterfly effect and change things along the way by knowing a certain thing about yourself. But I would want to know,
now you're changing the rules of the game, John. You didn't say there's going to be a butterfly effect.
Well, okay, fine. That's fair. I'm pulling a Felicia, changing the rules. I got it. That's frowned upon. What I am saying is like, if you could Google it. So, like, I would want to know, like, is America still a country that is functioning? You know, like, those basic things that would just, like, help me sleep at night. This won't come as a galloping shock to you two, or probably most of our viewers, but I have anxiety when it comes to national politics and political trends. So just knowing that we exist as a country, that would make me feel good that everything's going to be okay.
Has the U.S. imploded?
Yes, right.
Well, if you just do like the rest of the country and ignore it, then you wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah. Ooh, Amy, we got a fun one here too.
All right, yeah. So, okay, a recent survey in People magazine, they asked a bunch of people, would you, if you were to give up your dog or your phone for a month, which would you do? No cell phone or no dog? What would you guys do?
I don't have a problem giving up my cell phone. Yeah, I don't have a problem giving it up. But I guess, do I still have to do work? I need details. Do I still have to, like, work and communicate with everybody?
You have to put the cell phone, you still have your laptop, you still have your computer, but you cannot use your phone anymore.
Okay, no phone then. No phone.
John?
Really? Oh, well, I don't have a dog, so it's easy, but I would say no dog.
See, no, I don't think it's easy.
Go ahead.
I don't have a dog, and I would say I would get rid of my cell phone if I had it, because I mean, the dog's a member of your family. How would you give it up? And I was shocked because 40% of respondents said they would give up their dog. Like, how would you keep a dog for a month over your phone?
How am I going to Google questions about America's future from a dog? That dog ain't going to help me there. That dog ain't going to help me on my Instagram.
They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So, you might miss them a little bit more and appreciate them when they get back. Amy, would you give up your kids for a month?
I plead the fifth.
That's not a bad thing for you to say yes. Just 1 month, not the whole next 18 years.
It depends on what time of the day you ask me.
Later,
She would
Spot.
say
Later,
yes.
Fido. I'm sorry. You got to keep my cell phone. That's my answer. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Dr. Phil is next.